By the time Muhammad Ali refused the Vietnam draft, the fight against him had already begun. Long before 1967, Ali had become something far more threatening than a boxer. He had become political. After defeating Sonny Liston in 1964, the new heavyweight champion did something unprecedented. Instead of embracing the patriotic image expected of a world champion, he announced his alignment with the Nation of Islam. Soon after, Elijah Muhammad publicly declared that Cassius Clay would now be known as Muhammad Ali. Within the Nation of Islam, members were taught that their surnames were inherited from slavery, names passed down through ownership. They were encouraged to give those names back and accept what was described as a holy name. Ali embraced that doctrine openly. He declared that Cassius Clay was a slave name. He rejected it in public, on television, in press conferences, in interviews. This wasn't personal branding. It was ideological positioning. At the same time, he had been closely associated with Malcolm X, one of the most controversial political figures in America. Through Malcolm and the Nation of Islam, Ali was linked to teachings that described white America as a system of oppression, not a neutral society. Many white sports writers recoiled. Promoters became uneasy. Some boxing officials questioned whether he should be allowed to represent the sport at all. The heavyweight champion of the world was expected to symbolize national pride. Ali symbolized something else. He symbolized dissent. This tension built for years. It showed up in headlines, in hostile columns, in arenas where fans booed instead of cheered. Ali's skill made him unavoidable, but his politics made him unacceptable to many. So when the Vietnam War escalated and draft notices began arriving, the situation was already primed for confrontation. When Ali's notice came in 1967, he didn't hesitate. "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong." That sentence didn't just oppose a war. It challenged the moral authority of the state itself. In the Cold War atmosphere of the 1960s, patriotism was treated as a test of loyalty, and Ali failed it publicly. Within hours of his refusal, institutions moved fast. His boxing license was suspended. His passport was revoked. His heavyweight title was stripped. Not after a long review. Not after public debate. Immediately. Because by then, the issue was not simply military service. It was ideological control. Ali was no longer just a fighter refusing a draft. He was a visible black man, aligned with a controversial movement, rejecting the authority of the United States government in front of the world. That combination was intolerable to the establishment. The punishment that followed was not symbolic. From age 25 to 29, the most productive years of a fighter's career, Muhammad Ali was banned from boxing. 4 years of prime athletic ability erased. He was convicted of draft evasion, sentenced to 5 years in prison, fined $10,000. Appeals kept him out of a cell, but financially and professionally, he was cut off from the sport he dominated. This was not just legal enforcement. It was a warning. If the most famous athlete in the world could be neutralized for dissent, anyone could. But the erasure attempt had an unintended effect. Instead of disappearing, Ali became more politically visible. He toured college campuses across the country. He spoke about the war, about race, about the contradictions of American democracy. He asked why black men should fight for freedoms overseas that they were denied at home. He forced audiences to confront a question they were not used to hearing from athletes. What does patriotism mean in an unequal society? And the longer he was kept out of the ring, the more that question spread. In 1971, the Supreme Court unanimously overturned his conviction. No grand apology followed. No national reckoning. Just a legal reversal and a quiet return. Ali stepped back into the ring and eventually regained the heavyweight title. But by then, the meaning of his career had changed. He was no longer just a champion of boxing. He was a symbol of resistance to institutional pressure. The government had tried to make an example of him. Instead, it made him permanent. His refusal of the draft is often remembered as the defining moment. But in truth, the conflict began years earlier, when he aligned himself with a movement that challenged American racial power, when he rejected the name given to him by history, and when he refused to conform to what a champion was supposed to represent. By 1967, the institutions around him were already waiting for a reason to act. The draft refusal simply gave them one. They took his title. They took his license. They tried to take his prime. But what they proved instead was that the state could silence a man's career and still fail to control his influence. Muhammad Ali didn't just survive that moment. He changed what it meant for an athlete to resist power.